Welcome back to the Too Dad to Quit podcast. You can find us on toodadtoquit.com, Too Dad to Quit on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. And we encourage you to join our Facebook group, and you'll see the link in the description. And so you can discuss the episodes and meet other listeners. And we're very excited to grow that community. Before we start this episode, I'm also very excited to announce that everyone has seen my Father's Matter hat. And everywhere I go, fathers are always asking me and dads, where did you get that hat? It's awesome. And yeah, right, we do. And carry on. And so I'm very excited to announce that we have partnered with the creator of this Father's Matter apparel. And now you can actually buy some yourself on toodadtoquit.com/shop. And some of the proceeds will go to support the podcast. And I'm very excited that that is coming and now live as of this episode, and spread the word. And we're always looking for new listeners, new guests. And if you have a story, we want to hear it. There's no story that's too small. I think that everybody has something to share, and everyone that listens to it can get something out of it. So please reach out. Don't be shy. And we're already planning season 3, and we're very excited about that. Season 2 is coming to an end, and this episode is a collection of all of the Too Dad to Quit moments, a moment where we ask our guest, what was that moment when you were proudest as a dad? When you think about it, your face lights up. And this is a compilation. I find it very important. Being a dad, being a parent is not always amazing 24/7. And it's in those hard moments that you need to just remember that there are going to be amazing things coming ahead, and don't beat yourself up, and, don't get frustrated, and it's never going to get better. And so I put together this compilation as a recap for the entire season 2. It has been amazing. I can't thank our guests enough. And we're planning season 3. And so I'm really excited for this episode. And it's something, even when you're down, just, pull up this episode and just listen to it, and know that, there's other fathers out there that are struggling, but it's those moments that get you through those biggest struggles. And so we really hope that this episode inspires you to keep going, and just know you're not alone out there, and it does get better. So without further ado, season 2, Too Dad to Quit moment compilation. Enjoy.
Welcome to the Too Dad to Quit podcast.
The podcast where we highlight stories of dads on the other side of divorce,
to inspire and give strength to dads going through it.
I'm Ben.
And I'm Yoel.
Sam Gras lives in Washington, D.C. Sam has been divorced for over 10 years and has one daughter. Sam's hobbies include CrossFit, one-wheeling around the Capitol with his daughter. He's an avid toy collector, an all-around comic nerd. He enjoys cosplay, Comic-Cons, and collaborating with Garbage Pail Kids in full costume as a real-life atom bomb. We ask all of our guests to share their Too Dad to Quit moment, a moment where you were the proudest of yourself, of your child, when you were just like, man, I am the dad. This is so cool. And if you can share, you've already showed a few, but if you can share another moment where that was just, beaming with pride as being a father.
There's never a time where I'm not.
Amazing.
I love my kid. And for me, at this stage, just remembering how I was at 13 and the troubles that the children are going through these days, where we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have full access 24/7 to the World Wide Web. We only traveled within our small little circle, and who was cool? This guy, that sits at the front of the bus, or the one the girls liked, or whatever it was. Our kids are just inundated with information, and to be able to see that my kid is managing and handling a lot of those stressors, and coming to terms with what this world means versus kind of maybe how we expected it to be. That to me is a big thing, because I really honor her opinion, and for her to be able to be strong in this type of world means a lot.
Uri is from Los Angeles and moved to Israel 6.5 years ago. He is 38 years old, has been divorced for almost a year after 14 years of marriage, and has 4 kids from 14 to 8. Girl, boy, girl, boy. Uri is the director of design at a crypto company called Zengo. He enjoys hiking, hanging out with friends, cooking, and eating great food. He also makes it a priority to do daily meditation and practice mindfulness. We ask our guests to highlight a moment that their too dad to quit moment, when they were most proud of their kids or proud of themselves as a father. I can even see you thinking about it and your face lighting up. So that moment when your face lights up and you're like, man, I did a dad thing. If you could share that.
Yeah, I think the only thing that comes to mind right now is my 13-year-old son, who has fed off of my my change in my character, and I see how he changed himself towards his siblings and towards his friends in a way that he is completely comfortable with himself, and he has tons of friends at school who he perceives to be very immature people, and he just deals with conflict a way of like an adult would, and not a 13-year-old boy. And that makes me very, very proud that he is able to understand what I'm trying to teach him, internalize it, and actually apply it to his daily life. And I think that's absolutely beautiful.
Eric lives in Palm Harbor, Florida, and has been separated for over 3 years. He is the father to 2 boys, ages 18 and 13. Professionally, he is a holistic health coach and a real estate investor. Personally, he loves golfing and anything in nature. We like to leave our listeners and our audience with a too dad to quit moment from our guests. So if you can share a too dad to quit moment when you were like, man, I am the dad, or I'm killing it. These kids are awesome. I made those kids, something that just, your face lights up when you think about it.
Yeah, honestly, it's always being outside playing with the kids is the moment, because I have the disparity of age, I'm not, I always have to try to split myself in 2 for the younger one and the older one, and still, it's the age difference, but when we can all engage and participate in whatever it is, again, it's usually something outdoors, but just being able to play together is like that for me is and I have them pretty regularly. We go to parks and we go to playgrounds and we, play ball at the fields, and we just do stuff as a threesome. And every one of those moments, like, I do actually stop to smell the roses, because I know that this time is finite with them at this age. Mm-hmm. And those are the moments where I'm like, it's everything to me.
Ari is a divorced father of 2 sons, 20 and 18. He is originally from New York and has lived in Tel Aviv since 2007. Ari is also a board member of the Tel Aviv Museum of Art. Ari is also a social entrepreneur and philanthropist, and hopes to save the rapidly disappearing Dead Sea, one of the Earth's natural wonders. He co-founded the Dead Sea Revival Project and is now raising funds for a Dead Sea Museum of Arad. Ari also brought photographer Spencer Tunick to Israel 3 times for awareness-raising nude photo shoots viewed by over 500 million people worldwide. This is the Too Dad to Quit podcast, so we do ask our guests to share a Too Dad to Quit moment, a moment where you've been proudest as a dad, and I've done it, and your face just lights up talking about it. I know it's going to be hard to top that, but
I could tell you where my kids embarrassed me in a fun way. The first Israeli Midburn. I decided to take them to it. I felt that would be a really cool experience. And Midburn is the Israeli Burning Man festival. I had never been to Burning Man, I hadn't, I only have heard of it, but it's very different when you hear something than you actually experience it. And I'm driving my kids down to like, I think it was in like Stay Beaucaire, and they're asking me like, where are we going? And I'm trying to explain to them. They're like, you're the craziest dad. You're the craziest dad. You're the craziest dad. I'm like, don't worry, it's going to be fine. I signed up to be in family camp. And then
Okay.
we get there and they look around and there are people naked running around. They look at me like, you're like the most normal person here. Just promise us that you're not going to take off your clothing. I'm like, don't worry, it's not going to happen. And like we ended up having an amazing experience together. But it was like the funny, they thought I was the craziest. Like, oh my God, you're the most normal.
Nice. Brian is a single father of 2 daughters, hailing from New Jersey. Brian tries to extract the most out of life while constantly pushing himself to grow through personal development. Alongside parenting, Brian is very active in his community with a leadership role in his synagogue in Tel Aviv. During his free time, Brian is pretty active, enjoying travel and playing sports such as ice hockey, snowboarding, and tennis. He always finds time to enjoy the beauty that Tel Aviv has to offer, with its beaches, parties, social events, and active immigrant community. Professionally, Brian had the pleasure of working in tech sales within really creative companies, most recently spending 5 years at Powtoon, the video animation software company. Currently, Brian is in the world of influencer marketing, connecting the creator economy with brand sponsorships and insightful data. This is the Too Dad to Quit podcast.
Yeah.
And so we like all of our guests to share a Too Dad to Quit moment. Moment when you've been proudest, that moment when you're full of pride and your face lights up when you talk about it. And I know it's gonna be hard to beat that story, but I have faith that you can do it. So we'd love for you to share one of those moments with our audience.
Yeah, sure. I was thinking about this. I was like, what moment can I find? And I actually it's not one single moment. Sorry to be cheesy, but it's every day. No, but I actually really feel like it's these everyday moments with my kids. And as you guys can see, and as I've talked about, just like gratitude and appreciation is such an important trait that I try and have, and I try and teach to my kids. I think it's something that my kids have really taken on and just have naturally, but also
Nice.
it's because of the way that we've raised our kids to be super appreciative of everything and to not spoil them. And we really don't. So I think like the Too Dad to Quit moment is really every single time I tell my kids that like we're gonna do something, we're gonna, or here's this gift, or we're going to a certain friend's house, right? Or like whatever it is, their reaction is their eyes light up and they're so excited. They're like, really? It could be anything like, oh, like we're going to such and such house for Friday night dinner. Really? Or like I'll get them a gift and it'll be like a bracelet from one of my trips, and they'll be like, oh my God, I love it. They're just so happy, and they're not like, well, why doesn't it push buttons and like download and like show me videos? They're just super appreciative of every little thing. And I think there's so much that we could learn from our kids, who in general, like naturally, babies and kids, they just look at the world like, whoa, how does that work? That's so cool. And they're so appreciative. And then, unfortunately, sometimes technology can just like ruin that. But recently I didn't even make the connection, but recently, I remember like 2 weeks ago. Yeah, no, last week, I think it was two weeks ago. I was just like walking throughout Tel Aviv, and I was like, I just started appreciating things around me. And I'm like, wow, look at the building, look at the flowers, the lights. And I was like, cool, I'm gonna walk home and just be a little kid. I just appreciate all these.
That's
And all of a
awesome.
sudden my like world lit up, and I'm like, there's so much beauty around me, and we just walk through it like we don't appreciate it sometimes.
Yitzchak is currently 4 years into his second marriage. He has 4 kids from his previous marriage. Despite being remarried, being divorced is an enormous part of his identity. Yitzchak is currently in between jobs, hopefully not much longer, and in the meantime, he keeps himself busy with health and fitness, reading, learning languages, writing, editing, watching MMA, and a whole lot more. He is also the author of several books, including You're Doing Everything Wrong, Dating, Marriage, and Divorce, Advice from the Deep Within the Trenches. You shared a lot of wisdom here. Before we get into some more of your wisdom, we'd love for you to share your too dad to quit moment, some moment where you were proudest as a dad, or when you think about it, you just like light up. That moment that plays over in your head when the kids are not behaving and not listening to you, and you're just like, oh man, don't worry, those moments are going to come back.
I mean, it's here. I'm gonna, if I may, say a couple of things that hopefully we'll get some points across. But I mean, one I've already mentioned, just getting on the plane and moving here when I did, and accepting my son, even though we didn't have furniture or a fridge or any way to cook our food. When he needed to be out of his situation that was damaging him, the door was wide open, as I always knew it would be. And I hope the 11, 12-year-old version of him appreciated how difficult that was to literally get off a plane and say, come on over. But I think that was a big one. I've had a lot of interesting wins with my son that I think he's a very capable and confident person now. And it wasn't always that way, especially when during that year was hard. It was extremely hard for him psychologically, and he suffered. But a handful of specific incidences, I think, helped put him back on this path. One of them was encouraging him to start studying Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I think that I think martial arts, especially serious martial arts, if I could explain what the difference is between serious and not serious if you want, but Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is as serious as it gets, and he is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu blue belt. It changed so much about him, the way he started carrying himself, just a little bit taller, smiling more, got in phenomenal shape, really helped him to recognize the importance of being healthy. And just different things like that, where we had adventures together. My son and I went skydiving twice.
Wow.
Both times as part of a fundraiser, which sadly is no longer in existence, for a lean hospital.
Oh yeah, they're not in existence anymore? Oh,
a lean hospital is, sorry, I hope that was not
good. It's like, what?
A lean hospital, going strong, amazing place. If you have to choose between buying my book and giving them a donation, give them a donation. They're phenomenal. Yeah. They had 4 fundraisers every year, and now they have 3. They no longer are doing.
I actually almost did that one.
Oh, it would have been fun to meet you there.
Yeah.
It's
insurance problems, I guess.
No, lack of repeat interest, I think, was the main one. As it was explained to me, people do it and sorry about that. People do it and they don't want to do it a second time. Or they don't feel that it's not like a race people run every single year in Jerusalem Marathon or whatever, but this is like people look at it as this once in a lifetime thing. And we obviously didn't. We did it twice, and the second time from higher up.
I heard that on like a YouTube short. You only need a one of the, what do they call it? The parachute. You only need a parachute to jump twice. You don't need a parachute to skydive once. I think it was worded differently, but it was an interesting twist on things. But anyway, yeah. So carry on. No,
it's one of those things that you do where you kind of think to yourself afterwards, well, where do I go from here? I mean, I jumped out of a plane. Like there's nothing you can do in life that's more intense and intimidating than jumping out of a plane, at least on paper.
You got to ask Tom Cruise. He keeps coming up with stuff, I think. So he like rides motorcycles out of planes and parachutes off motorcycles and all sorts of
He does his
crazy
own
stuff.
stunts, that nut job.
Yeah.
50s now, I think. At least.
Yeah, at least. Yeah.
But yeah, so we did that together twice, raised over $7,000 for Aline.
Wow.
And something's different when you jump out of a plane. You know, first of all, you show up in school in September or June or whenever school's September, and teachers love to go around and say, "What'd you do with your summer?" And most of the kids, I watched TV, nothing. I hung out with friends. The more exciting ones say they went to camp, and and Shlomo gets to say he jumped out of a plane, and guess what? The conversation's over at that point because everything turns to you. No one cares about anybody else's. I took a walk. It's just not important anymore. But I think these things have just changed him. A whole slew of different things along those lines. Taking him shooting. I apologize to the folk who might be listening, who might be offended by the fact that I took my 12-year-old shooting. But
it is the Middle East.
What's that?
I said it is the Middle East. So.
Oh, we did it in Kansas.
Oh, whoops. Okay.
Middle America.
Here's a fun fact, right? You cannot take a 12-year-old skydiving in America, but you cannot take a 12-year-old shooting in Israel. So we managed to get the best of both worlds. The place in Kansas where I took him shooting, I asked if my younger kid could come. And they said, as long as they could hold a gun, they could come shooting. So welcome to the Midwest. It's a different planet. So yeah, but these things, they change a kid. They give them confidence and strength and stories. Most kids are boring. Because why wouldn't they be boring? Most 20-year-olds are boring. What have they done? I went to classes. That's not fun. That's not exciting. But when you could provide your children with adventure and stories, you change everything.
Yeah,
beautiful.
That amazing. And the last thing we like to leave our audience with is some tips.
Gary Miskin is an entrepreneur and co-founder of a successful stock brokerage in Toronto, Canada, where he was also born and raised. Gary was divorced in 2002, happily remarried in 2004, and is a proud dad to 7 children. Gary is a devoted meditator and constantly seeking spirituality and personal growth. And I have to add, Gary has been an absolute tower of strength for me in so many different facets of my life, both in my prior life, prior to divorce, in my life during divorce, and in my life post-divorce. And Gary knows how infinitely grateful I am to him.
So we like to ask all of our guests to give a too dad to quit moment, a moment when you were the proudest as a father. You felt, you think about it and your face lights up, and it's a moment you always go back to, or something that happened recently that you were just like, wow, this is so awesome to be a dad, and I'm going to remember this moment.
I have a lot of nachas. I got a lot of pleasure from my kids. I got a lot of positive feedback. A lot of them, I was a redhead back when I had hair, and 5 out of the 7 are redheads. And I'm always, so it's a very easy, and I'm also 6'7", so I'm larger than the average fellow. So my kids are largely red and very large. So, wherever they go, it's easy to tell that there goes a Miskin. I always get really, really good feedback about my kids, about how they behave. I got an older son, my second one, who's very talented, Baldfilla. He prays, at the pulpit in the synagogue. And I get a lot of positive feedback. He's very, he's talented in that regard. My older son is, I get a lot of feedback from him. He's just a sweet, sweet guy. Like he's like the old soul. We talk about old souls, like a really, really old soul. And I got the young ones who are just, one cute thing after the next. Last night, my 5-year-old came over to me before bed and he was angry. He came over and said, "I want to marry mommy. I want to marry mommy." So I said, "You can't afford her."
Nice.
Things like that. It's difficult to answer that question. That some of them are of the age where every last thing out of their mouth is And I'm older, right? I'm 40. I'm gonna be 49 next month or whatever. And so for me, I have more help. I'm a little bit more mature having kids, so I can probably appreciate them a little bit more than someone who's sleep deprived and has to get up and go to work, and it's killing them. So for me, those those moments of having pleasure from the kids and from what they say or from the feedback that I get from them I get a fair amount. Come up with the other particular stories. Ask me one more question, it'll come to me. But
Sure.
they just happen to be really, really good kids. Thank God. And a lot of it has to do most of it has to do with their mother. I mean, there are some women who are they were born to be mothers and to have families. My wife, you would ask her when she was 5 years old how many kids she was going to have. She said 7. How did she knew that? I don't know. She just knew. She always went, "What do you want to do?" "I want to be a mom." She just has it in her, and it's one of the reasons that either consciously or subconsciously, I married her. She just and it hasn't always been easy. These kids, I have 2 older ones, and then a 7-year time difference or age difference between number 2 and number 3.
Wow.
And we had a major, expensive, lengthy, difficult fertility situation where, after doing IVF for a number of cycles that were unsuccessful, my wife basically said to me, I'd already been on the spiritual path for a few years at that point. My wife wanted to do another round of IVF, and I told her, I said, "Oh yeah, you start meditating, or I have a guy that you can go to who will speak about spiritual concepts to you and teach you to meditate and all types of stuff. And if you do that, then your problem is going to be over. If you keep relying on doctors, then we're just going to have more of this. And so I'm not going to pay for any IVF until you agree to go to this guy." And she agreed. She was open-minded. She's an old soul. And the floodgates opened. Maybe, she got pregnant maybe 2 months after she started meditating with this guy. And the floodgates opened, and we had like 5 and 7 years.
Wow.
After that. So that's a great thing about the spiritual path. If you walk it long enough, the feedback comes back and just kind of, it closes the loop on it, and it reinforces your belief in it. It just makes you better at it, makes you stronger at it. So she was born to be a mother. She put in a lot of time and effort to have those kids. There was a lot of praying that went into them, especially the last 5. And it shows on their personalities and just the overall love and the positive energy in the home that they bring. So it's been a blessing.
Brad is a college funding specialist who has helped thousands of families plan and save for college with smart and proven strategies to save time, money, and stress. As a financial expert, blogger, and host of the Taming the High Cost of College podcast, Brad has been sharing his college planning insights with clients, subscribers, and listeners for nearly 20 years. He teaches parents the best ways to save and pay for college, including how to find the right school, maximize financial aid and scholarships, avoid student loan debt, and make your children's college dreams come true without wiping out your finances and retirement. Since 1998, Brad has become one of the nation's leading college planning and college financial experts. He offers life-changing advice through his private practice, his online platforms, and at numerous workshops, seminars, and events throughout the year. We like to have our guests leave our audience with a Too Dad to Quit moment, a moment where you've been the proudest of being a father and a dad, and just that some moment you think about and your face lights up when you think about it. And we'd really appreciate it if you can leave one of those moments for our audience.
Yeah, I mean, I guess again, both of my kids just understanding, both my older kids in the college process. I mean, they did what it took to get it done, and through COVID, right? I mean, all the kids that are dealing with, that are young in college had COVID through high school. So
Wow.
there's that whole generation of it was tough. And, my son, we weren't able to visit colleges during COVID. I mean, things shut down, and he persevered, and we figured it out, and they're both doing well in college. So,
Awesome.
Again, the cobbler that where his kids don't have shoes. Well, actually, my kids are
Wearing
shining
shoes.
examples for me. Thank you. Thankfully, not
Well,
the
you are looking
dropouts
for
or
new
anything
advisors
yet.
at some
Knock on
point.
wood.
That's amazing.
Awesome. Jesse is originally from Pennsylvania and now lives in Spain. Both of his kids were born in Spain, and after a separation of just over a year, he is officially divorced as of recent. He has a very respectful divorce and co-parenting relationship. Jesse is grateful and proud of what he and his ex-wife are building. Jesse likes to empower parents to raise empowered kids. His tagline is, "I create content to help entrepreneurs and parents to lead more conscious lives." So we ask our guests to always share one of their too dad to quit moments, a moment when they were proudest and happiest as a dad, when like they think of that moment that their face just lights up. And if you can share that with our audience, we'd really appreciate it.
Yeah. And one, because I read that just before coming on, I read that in the email. I was like, what am I going to say? and the one thing, if I can share two things, one thing that came to mind when you were telling a story about how kids are watching you, like when you were talking about making everything a teachable moment, we were cutting something with a box. We were making some sort of crafts, and I was cutting a box and with a box cutter, and somehow I cut my finger, and I was like, and those razor blades, they hurt, and then I do this and go just walk to the bathroom to wash off my hand, and with soap and everything. Like a few nights later, maybe a week or two later, like I see Sophia and Dante cutting, and okay, maybe I shouldn't have let them cut by themselves. Like I was there, but like I wasn't like holding the hand. I give them more freedom than I think many parents do, right? I'm into like them learning for themselves, and sometimes they get hurt. And that's just what the case. So like he was taking a knife and he cut his finger, and I just saw him. I was up here and I just saw him, and he gets up and just walks to the finger. He's 5. He has blood coming out of his finger, and he just, with his eyes closed, he walks to the bathroom and is breathing and turns on the sink and to wash his finger. I was like, what happened, Dante? And like he cut his finger. It wasn't bad. It was just,
Right.
And it just like clicked. I was like, how did he, like, why isn't he crying? Like, what is this? And is he in shock? I was kind of like almost worried. I was like, is he in shock? Is this worse than I realized? And then I remembered. I was like, this is exactly what I did. Like last time. Like they're watching, like that's amazing. And
Awesome.
I guess dude, that it was so cool. It's like those parenting moments that are, it's not like proud, like I guess it's proud, but it's not proud moments. It's moments when we learn. Isn't that the most powerful? It's the moments when we're like, whoa, and it's just a magical moment.
Yeah. You had a second moment.
Yeah, the one that I was thinking is just the other day, we were having a moment, and Sophia, 8 years old, she starts to get her own personality, I guess we would say, and then argue, fight, whatever. And like, this was a day when I was intentional. I woke up with an intention because a few days before, or for several days before, I was kind of like on edge, a little less patient than I normally am. You know how that happens? You just like, things bother you that normally wouldn't. And then you going back to the parenting guilt, you get to the end of the day and you're like, why did I feel that pressure all day? Like that had to transmit to them. I didn't even enjoy the love. And I did so I just woke up that day with intention. I was like, I'm going to be intentional to make this day, like to enjoy the moment, and to be filled with love and light. And so Sophia was having a moment, and I was staying calm and like working with it. And so Dante, he was in the middle of eating, like I didn't even know he knew this word. He's like, Daddy, you're a hero.
Wow.
And yeah. And he gets out of his chair. I was like, thank you, bub. And he gets out of his chair and just comes over and gives me a big hug.
Wow.
And like, it was one of those things, it didn't really sink in the magic of that moment until like later that night. And then I got like all teary-eyed and getting kind of choked up now. But like, yeah, it really is, isn't it?
Terry lives in Denver, Colorado, and he is a former police officer and SWAT hostage negotiator with the Cincinnati Police Department. Terry has been married for 30 years and has one child, a daughter who is a graduate of the U.S. Air Force Academy and is a officer in the new branch of the military, the Space Force. She has played Division I basketball at the academy. Terry has been battling a rare form of cancer for the past 11 years, which has seen him have his foot amputated in 2018 and his leg was amputated in 2020, and he is currently being treated for tumors in his lungs. Terry is also the oldest of 3 boys. He and his brothers all played college sports, and his middle brother was drafted by the Cleveland Cavaliers in the NBA. And his youngest brother coached Michael Jordan's 2 sons in high school. Terry is also the author of Sustainable Excellence, 10 Principles to Leading Your Uncommon and Extraordinary Life. Terry believes everyone is born to lead an uncommon and extraordinary life, and that has nothing to do with where you work, how much money you make, and where you live. So we do like to ask our guests to leave some Too Dad to Quit moment, a moment where you felt the proudest of your daughter, and when you think about it, you just light up. If you could share one of those stories with us, we'd really enjoy it.
Well, I think the most, I sort of already gave you the story about how, when she was diagnosed in middle school with all these learning issues and deficits and worked incredibly hard with a learning specialist, but, she had to put in the time, she had to do the work, and to have her walk across the stage at the Air Force Academy to get her diploma and to shake hands with the president of the United States was, I get goosebumps still thinking about it, how, and people used to say to us, oh, congratulations. I'm like, she did all the heavy lifting, we were there to support her and things like that. Absolutely. But it was, I think my wife would tell you the same thing. It was the proudest moment of our lives. It was like, we set her up to be successful in life. Now it's up to her to kind of pick up the ball and advance it forward.
My father, Fred Stern. Fred is the father of and stepfather of 5 boys, 3 boys from his first marriage, 1 stepson, and 1 son from his second marriage. He is also the grandfather to my 5 children, and the step-grandfather of 2 children and an occasional math tutor. Fred graduated from Cooper Union with a BS in electrical engineering. During his professional career, he worked on the Atlas launch vehicle, submarines, VP of the family business, HP, and Y2 crash aversion. Fred also used to have a pilot's license and currently enjoys helping seniors with computer issues and protecting them from frequent scams. So we like our guests to share with our audience a Too Dad to Quit moment, a moment when you were proudest of your being a dad, and when you think of that moment, your face lights up. That'd be great.
Well, you sent that to me, and my thoughts went directly to you. which may be surprising to you. But you didn't communicate a lot when you were growing up. And that goes up until yesterday. Hard to get a lot of communication out of you, although we've been doing better lately. Thank you. But that doesn't mean that I wasn't watching your progress. Like everything about you from when you were leading youth groups out on Long Island to the different jobs you've done, especially in Israel, where you've been always really a key star employee, member of the team. It's made me very proud to see how you've grown and succeeded. Hopefully because of my work ethic.
Yaakov is originally from Baltimore and has been living in Israel for the past 18 years. Yaakov is married with 5 kids and has been involved in divorce mediation, and he has a lot to share on the topic. Yaakov is currently working in the financial department of a medical company in America, but thinking about getting involved in divorce mediation full-time because it's something that he's passionate about and he loves doing. So we do ask all of our guests to share a Too Dad to Quit moment, a moment where you were the proudest of your kids. You think about that moment and your face lights up, and it could be a small thing, could be a big thing. If you could share with our audience one of those moments.
I'm getting stuck in that, what I shared before about my daughter, like just that moment where she was, in a situation where she was practicing that mediation on the 2 younger kids. I really felt like impactful of her really receiving my message and implementing in her own life. It was something very special.
Isaac lives in Teaneck, New Jersey, and got divorced 4 years ago. Isaac is a dad to 2 sons and a professional dog coach. Isaac also enjoys jiu-jitsu, singing, running, biking, crystal mining, road tripping, and hiking.
Yes.
And we'd like our guests to share with our audience a Too Dad to Quit moment where you felt the most proud as a dad. When you think about it, your face just lights up. If you can share a moment or like that would be great.
It's so random, but it's so real. We were at shul a few weeks ago, and I like to have, like, ever since my kids were really little, I've always created this cute relationship with inanimate objects. Like, we would pass by a tree and it was really cute. I said, "Say hi to the tree," because I want them to feel like there's what do you say?
No, I laughed. It's funny.
Yeah. I want them to feel that they have a connection to the world around them versus just people, because people don't always say hi back, right? So I said, if that tree became theirs, and I made that. I said, that's Shimshon's tree, that's Tuvia's tree. And they feel that they can have some say in the world. So when the Torah comes out on Shabbat morning, all the time, ever since they're super little, and again, I'm not religious, but I go to shul on Shabbat morning, I go to synagogue, I even lead many times. They ask me to lead because I'm a trained singer, and I love the experience. So when the Torah comes out, I tell my kids, go kiss it. Because the Torah is happy to see you, and you should say hello, because the Torah's been away for a whole week, right? So my kids, they still do it. I ingrained in them since they're 1. So recently we're at Chabad nearby. It's a very big shul. The shul we went to was really big, a lot. It must have been 100, 150 people. The Torah comes out, right? I'm sorry, the Torah was going back in, and everybody was lining up to say Shabbat Shalom to the rabbi at the same time, I think. Maybe there was an extra reading. I'm not sure how it was set up. And the rabbi reached down to say, or I think he walked up to us. That's what was going on. He was going around the shul, and he walked up to us to say Shabbat Shalom. But at that moment, the Torah was just about to was about to go back inside. And my kids, it's as if they didn't see the rabbi in the same way. They beelined. They went straight to the Torah to give a kiss because they wanted to say goodbye before it went back in. And the rabbi turns to me, he's like, "You're raising them pretty well," and yes. It was in all levels, in terms of spirituality, in terms of religion, confidence. I mean, there was just so much that I saw in that. But I just saw look, I'm not religious. I've been divorced. I am divorced. I could really make this suck. I could make it really bad. I could be like, I don't want to go to shul with my kids, because I used to always go with my ex. I used to always look behind and like wave to my ex from the other side. We did kiddush together. We had the meals, right? Yeah, shul sucks in a way because it's just me. But I said, you know what? Now it is just me, right? It's all about my ability to perceive this in a way where we could create a connection. And my kids, thank God, they did it the same way. And I've been told many times by other rabbis in the synagogue, like, your kids have life in them. I'm like, yeah, like that's the point. I love that. Yeah.
Keith McNabb, aka the Trainer Guy. The Trainer Guy is a leading fitness coaching service on a mission to transform the lives of fathers worldwide by helping them achieve optimal health, shed unwanted pounds, and sculpt their bodies into the shape of their lives. With over 16 years of experience and a proven track record of success, the Trainer Guy is revolutionizing the concept of fatherhood fitness for the new generation of fathers entering their 40s, who are finding it increasingly difficult to stay in shape. Keith is a dad to 2 girls and on a mission to help dads go from dad bod to rad bod in 3 months with no restrictive diets. Keith has also authored his free ebook, 40 Plus Fit Dad Secrets. We do ask our guests to share with our audience a moment when they were the most proud as a dad, and just a moment you think of and your face just lights up with pride. And I was a dad. This is my dad moment. It was all worth it, until now. If you can share one of those stories with us, we'd really like that.
Yeah, that's there's so many. I guess the first one that comes to mind would be seeing my older daughter read to my younger daughter. That was just sort of like, because she's been working so hard to learn how to read, and then to be able to read to her, it's just the sweetest thing.
Robert has been living in Newfoundland, Canada since 2006. He has a son, 18, and a daughter, 16, who are living with him full-time after a 7-year battle to see his kids. Robert loves hiking and helping people, and has previously lived in South Africa teaching computers and working for nonprofits in many industries before starting his own nonprofit to help parents with messy family issues and trying to put the child first, something Robert knows all too well. And we do like our guest to share with our audience a too dad to quit moment, a moment where you are just so happy with your kids, or you think about that moment and you just light up. If you can share one of those moments with our audience, we would really appreciate it.
I guess obviously being born when they were born, but I didn't see my daughter born because of all the nonsense. So but I guess getting them back. Getting them back, and it was a struggle. It was hard. I used to cry myself to sleep when I first got them back. But having them back obviously would be, I'm glad I never quit.
Robb lives in Sarasota, Florida, and has been divorced for over 6 years. The divorce with his once sweetheart turned into a nuclear battle that almost destroyed him. Today, his ex went from hating him, not talking to him ever, to Robb and his ex sitting with each other during halftime at his son's lacrosse games, getting along with her boyfriend, and her texting him how they are slaying the co-parenting game. Robb has also written 2 books teaching dads how to make their greatest comeback after divorce. We like all of our guests to share a too dad to quit moment. And we would love to hear that moment that you were the proudest of your kids, and you think about it and you get the biggest smile on your face. And when somebody asks you how the kids are doing, this is the story you pull out of your pocket. So we'd love for you to share that with our listeners.
Oh man, there's so many, but man, I get emotional. So it's hard. Just a lot of them,
Yeah.
Our family went through a journey that I never wanted us to go through, So just their resiliency and the fact that I get compliments about them all the time, and one time we're at dinner and my son said, "Daddy, we knew you'd never give up."
Wow.
Yeah. So they knew what I went through. They knew it was tough, and they never gave up. And what made it all worthwhile as a dad, one of my big things I always wanted them to learn was to be certified scuba divers, because it's a passion my dad instilled in me. It's a life passion for me. Fishing is a life passion for me that is a gift my dad gave to me. And my dad was not good at a lot of other things, but the one thing he was good about is he passed on like major passions for me. And my brother hunts all over the world. My brother's like a big time hunter, and my dad, passed on that passion to him. So I wanted to pass that on to my kids, and they learned, well, when they were born, they were scuba, like they were young, maybe 4 or 5, and they learned to scuba in the pool, but to actually go out there in the reef and be, legit certified. So last year we just did that, and that was like, I felt like if I died that day, it would have been like the perfect day. I was fine with that. I felt like, okay, I've done my part, and I taught them an amazing thing that they can have a legacy and move on. And and if you're a diver, you understand that, or if there's just something else. So like for me, that was just like the one thing I always wanted to do. And for the couple years prior, like I wasn't financially in a position able to do it. So to get back to going on first class vacation, spending money, doing things that we wanted to do. And man, I'm sorry I broke up so much, man.
No, it's all good. Joss is originally from St. Louis, Missouri, and has been living in Israel for the last 14 years. He separated in 2019 and has been divorced for almost a year. Josh is dad to 2 children, an 8-year-old daughter and 5-year-old son. Josh is a digital marketer with 23 years of experience, including running his own agency for 8 years, and now heading a niche agency for an Israeli marketing company. Josh also enjoys DJing, hiking, self-improvement, and cooking. So we like our guests to share with our listeners Too Dad to Quit moment, the moment when you were like proudest as a dad, you watch this happen or something happen and you just feel like the pride go straight to your face and you just smile anytime somebody asks you. This is the story that comes to mind.
Well, I would say anytime my kids ask me to listen to the Grateful Dead, that happens. But other than that, I think with my daughter, there's not really one story so much. It's more like she's really, really talented. She's really artistic. Like I look at the stuff that she does, and I'm just like, every time anew, I'm just like, I can't believe this little person put out something that looks like that. Like really, really good. And every time I see her make a drawing, I'm just like, wow, like she's half mine. With my son, because he's just 5, so I'm still watching him develop and grow. I mean, she is too, obviously, but her personality, her personality's been separating itself already from to becoming her own person, or his is just really kind of starting. But what I like to see is sometimes when we're out and we're going hiking and he's not complaining because he like takes the lead and he's 5.
Yeah.
He's like, and he just starts walking. I'm like, and he's like, but where are we going? I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm behind you. I'm following you. And you can see he's just going wherever it is that he wants to go, and it doesn't really matter. And he's in charge. And so when he's doing that, that makes me I'm happy he's now also starting to become his own person.
Ryan Shorthill. He is a successful entrepreneur, and currently he is a single dad managing the Dad's organization based in San Diego, California. Dad's organization is a fellowship of men who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other that they may be better fathers and family men within their communities. They speak from their own personal experiences and do not give advice or problem solve, although many problems can disappear with the right support. The requirements for membership are to be a dad in some capacity and a willingness to learn and grow with each other in a respectful, trusting, and confidential way. Dad's organization is an international fellowship of men who are dads in some capacity. You may have 1 child or 5, be a stepdad, grandfather, adopted, new dad, divorced, or single, and dads to be, or a father figure in some capacity. There are no age or education requirements. Membership is open to anyone who wants to actively participate in their personal growth around fatherhood. And so we like all of our guests to share a Too Dad to Quit moment, a moment where you just think about it and your face lights up. Man, I'm the coolest dad. This is why I became a dad. If you can share a moment like that with us, we'd really like that.
Man, I've been thinking about this long and hard, and it's like a trite answer, but there have been so many small, tiny moments that catch me off guard where I'm just like, I can't even believe it, you know? And one of them was just a few days ago. I've been struggling with my kids and with the mom and court and custody. And my whole thing is I just want to see the kids. I just want to have them in healthy activities. I'm not doing anything bizarre or crazy. I'm advocating to be a father. And there were times where I was actually getting to the point where I felt like surrendering custody would be better for the kids than for them to keep experiencing this. And even somebody close to me said, you know, when I remarried, so-and-so had issues with their kid and they just stopped coming to the house and all the issues disappeared. And I thought that might work for your family, but that doesn't work for my family. My family like shows up for each other. We don't turn our back on each other. And that was, my dad brought us to my aunts and uncles. Every weekend we saw all of my family, and he was reinforcing that these are the people that you know and trust that are always going to be there for you. And I just had to say, this isn't the Shorthill way. I'm not going to turn my back on my kids. I'm going to keep fighting. And every single day I fought. And recently, she finally relented and changed the schedule to what I knew would be a more appropriate thing for the kids. It immediately had an enormous positive effect on the kids. And there was a moment where the three of us, we used to wrestle all the time. We climb on each other. One of our languages is physical touch, hugging and tackling each other, kids in jiu-jitsu. And for about 2 minutes, my daughter started wrestling with us again. And it was that just 3 days ago where I was like, I did it, man. I did it. I didn't give up. And I'm back to having a healthy relationship with my kids, even though it took years. I lost jobs, I lost weight and health and friends and everything because I was constantly fighting for my kids, not just trying to find the easiest way out. And it's working. And now the kids in jiu-jitsu and the daughters in the art class, and now I see them on a regular basis again, and they're more healthy for it. I win.
Andy Heller is a successful businessman and not a divorce professional, such as a divorce attorney, mediator, therapist, co-parenting counselor, or the host of other professionals that support and service those going through divorce. Among his professional accomplishments, Andy co-authored 2 best-selling real estate investment books in the 2000s. While the books were well-received, Andy had no interest in writing another book. That decision changed after his own divorce. While navigating through his own divorce, Andy read countless support books to help him navigate through the process. While helpful, Andy identified a crucial hole in the self-help space for men and women navigating through divorce. Andy's book, Take the High Road, Divorce with Compassion for Yourself and Your Family, is his way of giving back with a stated goal of making the divorce process easier for those who are considering or who are on the divorce path. Several factors make his book truly groundbreaking. First, Andy brings a businessman's objective perspective into his counsel. Andy interviewed attorneys, divorcees, therapists, co-parenting counselors, mediators, special masters, and others to arrive at advice and guidance from the leading industry experts. Andy presents the guidance in 46 strategies, tools, and tips that, armed with the experience and counsel of these experts, the readers can themselves, hopefully, with their former spouses, and most importantly, their children, land in a healthier place in the months and years after the conclusion of their divorces. Andy Heller is a successful businessman and not a divorce professional, such as a divorce attorney, mediator, therapist, co-parenting counselor, or the host of other professionals that support and service those going through divorce. Among his professional accomplishments, Andy co-authored 2 best-selling real estate investment books in the 2000s. While the books were well received, Andy had no interest in writing another book. That decision changed after his own divorce. While navigating through his own divorce, Andy read countless support books to help him navigate through the process. While helpful, Andy identified a crucial hole in the self-help space for men and women navigating through divorce. Andy's book, Take the High Road, Divorce with Compassion for Yourself and Your Family, is his way of giving back with a stated goal of making the divorce process easier for those who are considering or who are on the divorce path. Several factors make his book truly groundbreaking. First, Andy brings a businessman's objective perspective into his counsel. Andy interviewed attorneys, divorcees, therapists, co-parenting counselors, mediators, special masters, and others to arrive at advice and guidance from the leading industry experts. Andy presents the guidance in 46 strategies, tools, and tips that, armed with the experience and counsel of these experts, the readers can themselves, hopefully, with their former spouses, and most importantly, their children, land in a healthier place in the months and years after the conclusion of their divorces. And we'd love for our guests to share one of their Too Dad to Quit moments, a moment where you were proudest as a dad, and when you think about it, you light up. And when someone asks you how the kids are doing, you know, this might be one of those stories that you just blurt out of your mouth without even thinking.
All right. Can I give you a 2-minute story?
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So, in my household, everybody, and this book is not about me, but a couple of things lessons I learned or things that happened went into the book, but never about me. It would be in third person. One of the chapters about perseverance. It talks about the importance of rolling up your sleeve to be that kind of dad or mom that you want to be. Growing up in my household, on Friday nights, we had family dinners. They were like family dinner always. And as I got older, I would go out at night, but we had the family dinner first. Okay. It was family time. How was the week? What do you got planned this weekend? Whatever. So that was a really special time. And in my own divorce, my business was on the East Coast, Ben. And in our separation agreement, I had that if I was gone for a week, I got the kids right away when I got back. All right. So I would typically fly back from the East Coast, first flight out on Friday morning, get the kids, and right away from school. But how in the world I could have this great family dinner when I wasn't around to prepare it? All right. Second issue was I realized I predicted accurately that, 'cause I had young kids, everybody, that some of the families in the community are just not going to be comfortable having their kids over at a single dad's place. And look, we live in a progressive time, but some concerns can be very, very dated, but that's just the way our society works. And I was completely correct there. So I decided to use these Fridays dinners to check off 2 boxes. So how did I create this Friday dinners when I wasn't around? I would go ahead and I would prep the dinner the week before. I'd cook it. All right. And then I'd freeze it. I would invite a family of one of my children's friends to Friday night dinner so they could have a chance to get to know me as a single dad in a safe environment. I went ahead and I paid a college kid to take this prepared meal out of the freezer so it could defrost on Thursday night. All right. So I caught the first flight out, which meant I got up around 2:30 in the morning Pacific time to catch the first flight out to land on the West Coast late morning. If I was lucky and my flight's on time, I got a run in. All right. Did my emails on the plane. All right. Then showered, got the kids from school. got them back, did my homework, worked out a carpool for my daughter going to dance. Then I took my son to soccer practice where I was the coach. This assistant also got the fresh vegetables. I got back, quick shower by 6 o'clock, put the meal in the oven, prepped the fresh stuff, presented myself. The table is already set. The people come in around 7. We have this great, well-cooked dinner. They're getting to know me. I'm getting to know them. They're okay to have their kids at the house safe. They feel safe with me going forward. They say goodbye around 9:30, clean up. I start watching my daughter's like, Dad, let's watch a movie together. And she's all upset at me. Dad, you can never stay awake during the whole movie. My kids were oblivious that this was the end of almost a 24-hour marathon for me, all to give them the same experience that I had. The point of this was, and I took such pride in these dinners, and it was very powerful. Now I'm speaking to the men on your podcast. Some of these parents even said to me, I really wasn't sure about you until you had us over for a guest. I saw how hard you were working to make those Friday night dinners happen. And I was very comfortable after that to have my kids over at your home. Yeah. So perseverance, guys and ladies, is really, really important. Divorce is hard because for us parents who want to be good parents, you're doing the work of two, but you're one human being. And sometimes rolling up the sleeves and working your butt off to create these experiences for your kids. And if they're young, they may be oblivious to everything you did to make that happen. It's going to make you feel so proud. So that was one of my special, and I can still remember, Ben, my daughter, and she still talks today. You'd always fall asleep when we would watch family movies. Like, if you only knew what Dad had done.
Nice. Kyle is from a town in South Africa I am not even going to attempt to pronounce. Kyle is the father to 2 awesome kids, a 5-year-old daughter and a 9-year-old son. Professionally, Kyle is an embedded electronics engineer, meaning that he loves to build electronic systems from the inside out, typically doing software development for microprocessors and things we most likely will never see. After the collapse of his marriage and the slow motion legal system, he decided to help other dads out there, and specifically dads who have to face the process of separation or divorce. Kyle also loves reading, spending time outdoors, hiking, being fit, seeing nature, and visiting the Kruger National Park. Kyle has also started Heroic Dad Coaching. His mission is to help dads out there live fully and lead a life with confident authenticity, proudly growing a heroic future generation of world changers. The best thing they can do for their kids, getting themselves right and 110% committed to being the best for their children. So we do want all of our guests to share a Too Dad to Quit moment, a moment where you think about your kids and you just brings a smile to your face. And when people ask you how the kids are doing, maybe this is the stories you share. So if you can share your Too Dad to Quit moment, that would be amazing.
Okay, well, I think there's probably going to be a bad moment and a good moment. I think the bad moment for me is kind of sitting in that place of despair, sitting in that tiny room, 2 kids. President has just announced the lockdown. I'm looming in debt. I'm probably feeling like a level 3 person out of 10 trying to deal with level 4 problems. It feels like the world is ending, and it's just like I had to go back and reflect and say, well, what is truly important? When I am sitting on that deathbed, what would I have wanted to achieve? And I want to be able to say, well, I gave them the best that I can there. And I want to be able to say that they've grown into their own heroic parents, and just one day having the opportunity and blessing to get grandkids and things like that, and to, walk my daughter down the aisle. Just those key moments is what, was really my turnaround. Like, I've got to step up my dad game to be the rock for them, to help them. And it's been really amazing in terms of like how how the relationships, even with their friends, has been impactful, because like even their friends know, well, Carl's dad's there, like he's a support network. So whenever I go pick up little my kids from school, like I get hugs from the kids around, and just being present, just being there, being for them,
Spots in multiple major markets. Steve lives outside of Phoenix and spends his spare time training for his next Ironman and traveling with his family to create lifelong sighted memories for Luke. So Steve, thank you for coming on. I could not think of a more poignant and crucial guest. As I was telling you earlier, I work for a company that deals with blindness and disabilities all the time. And, as a company, the goal is to make the web as accessible for as many people as possible. And, it seems like you're a man, you've gone, I guess, to radiology school, you got your MBA, you're definitely driven. And this is one of those things where you saw that there was a need and you just took that and took the action and just ran with it, literally and figuratively. Where does that, we like all of our guests to share a too dad to quit moment, a moment where you've been the proudest as a dad, and you just think of that moment and you're like, man, I am the dad. There's this, anytime it is one of those bad moments, you think of this moment and you're like, all right, it was worth it.
I mean, in terms of something I did or something my son did?
It's up to you.
Okay. So I think every time I see my son go up a belt level in his karate, that those are those super proud dad moments because of what it meant for him to get to that level, which is discipline, determination, commitment, and him not being willing to quit. Because there are definitely days when you're going through that, that journey of martial arts, like this sucks, I'm not getting any better, I'm not getting there. But, stacking those wins over days, weeks, and months, putting in that consistent effort and growing, and then seeing the fruits of that labor, it's one of those skills that when I see it, I know I'm like, he's going to be successful in life no matter what gets thrown at him. He's got what it takes to be a good human being down the road. And he's going to do really well. So every time you see them graduate that belt level, you're just like, man, I am one lucky dad, and I'm so proud of that kid right now.
This podcast provides a platform for our guests to express their own personal views and opinions. Some or all of these views and opinions may not be shared by Ben and or Yoel.
Thank you for listening to the Too Dad to Quit podcast. Available at toodadtoquit.com. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode.